Hi guys, welcome to day 4 of your 5-day yoga challenge. In today's video, we're going to be focusing on balancing, one of my favourite things to do. But before we begin coming into our balancing postures, we're simply going to start in our Tadasana, our standing posture. Palms of the hands facing forward. See if you can lift up with the kneecaps by engaging with the thighs. And gently closing with the eyes. Inhale to lift the shoulders, taking them back. Exhale, allowing the shoulder blades to drop. Sucking the belly button gently into the spine. And taking 2 final breaths here. See if you can lengthen with the breath on each inhale. Fully exhale all of the capacity of your lungs. And then gently flickering open with the eyes. Planting that right foot into the ground, we're going to come into a tree pose. So taking the left foot onto the inside of the right thigh or onto the bottom half of the leg, either's completely fine. And trying to find some stillness here, and a few of my top tips for doing this. So finding a point which is still to take your gaze to. Maybe taking the hands to heart center. I find it helps when I've got something else to focus on. And see if you can draw your attention into all 4 corners of that bottom foot onto the ground. If you need another tip, also pushing the foot into the leg and the leg into the foot, and that kind of friction which you're creating helps to keep that stability here. Option here for a final breath to raise up with the fingertips. Maybe taking the gaze up too for something more advanced. And then gently drawing the hands back through to heart center. We're going to take that right foot off of the leg, coming into a stork pose. Maybe taking the arms onto either side of the body into cactus. And here we're not just focusing on balance, but also strengthening into our core. Taking another long, deep inhale here. And then taking that left leg out behind you, coming into a warrior 3. Looks a bit like an aeroplane. Maybe taking the hands to heart center and finding a gaze on a still point which is ahead of you. And if you fall, don't worry at all, it's completely normal, just regain your balance. And see if you can level off with the hips. One thing which mine tends to do is I want to lift really high with that left hip to try and get the foot as high as I can. And taking another long, deep inhale here, drawing the belly button towards the spine. Exhale, bending into that right knee so we can take the hands onto the ground, onto just in front of that right foot. And then maybe drawing that right knee along the left and straightening it back out again. A nice exercise for opening into the hamstrings and into the calves. But remember, you can have that front knee as bent as you need it to be. It's not about how low we can go here or how straight we can get the legs. It's just finding that pose which is going to work for you. Taking another long, deep inhale. Exhale, planting the foot onto the outside, so taking it onto the opposite side of the mat. Maybe taking the hands onto the shins for a breath, gaze forward. And then exhale, rippling the body back up to standing. Coming directly onto the opposite side. So this time planting into the ground with the left foot. Taking the right foot onto the inside of the left leg. It can either go to the thigh or onto the bottom half, just never onto the knee. And finding that stillness again, using my top tips. So maybe it's taking the hands to heart center and finding that point of stillness in front of you, and that's enough. Maybe it's drawing the attention to the 4 corners of that standing leg. Or maybe it's gently applying some pressure with the foot onto the leg onto the foot. Option to raise with the fingertips for a final breath. Maybe looking up to the ceiling too. And if you lose your balance, just gently bringing the body back through to the position, don't worry at all. Taking the hands back through to heart center. We're going to draw that knee forward, coming into our stork. Option here to cactus with the arms. Finding a little bit of stillness here, engaging the core, sucking the belly button towards the spine. And then in your next out breath, taking the hands back to heart center, or anything which helps you to come into that stable warrior 3 position. Flexing the back toes towards the body. Finding a little bit of stillness here and seeing if you can level with the hips. You can have as much of a bend into this front knee as you need to. Inhaling here one more time. Exhale, dropping both hands to the ground. keeping as much of a bend into this front knee though as you need. You know, I say that a lot about bending into the knees. And maybe it's taking that right knee against the left and then drawing it back out a few times, which is gonna feel good for you today. It's a really nice way to open up into the calves and the hamstrings. Taking another breath wherever you're at, before planting the right foot onto the ground alongside the left, we're going to drop down into our yogi squat, which we came to a few days ago in our practice. An option to wriggle out with the feet to the sides if you want something more intense. An option to place something underneath your heels if you're wanting a bit more of a lift because the heels don't quite reach the ground. Making a few more movements left and right here. Do what feels good. Before gently dropping the sit bones onto the ground, you might need to use the hands to assist here, and taking the legs out in front of you. Here we're going to be working into a bit of flexibility into the calves and the hamstrings, but a few things which I want to introduce to you to help to prevent injury. So we'll begin by coming over to the right side. We'll twist the body over to the right, gently sucking the belly towards the spine, and drawing the toes towards the face. And taking the hands around the thigh, you'll just notice how much more engaged it feels when the toes are flexed towards the face. And keeping a slight bend into the knee. This helps us to get into the belly of the muscle here and helps to prevent injury. Maybe crawling the hands a little bit further out and twisting more with the chest, you're going directly over the leg, but making sure to keep that front foot engaged. Coming back to our breathing. Inhaling here deeply. Exhaling here smoothly. And don't compromise by allowing the foot to flop down so you can go as deep as you can, keeping that foot nice and engaged. I've pulled a hamstring recently, so I know the importance of having really good posture in these poses. And then on your next inhale, walking the hands one by one back in towards the body, and then we'll move over to the opposite side. So firstly, just again checking in that we've got the stability, both hips placed onto the ground. Twisting the body over to the left side, flexing the toes towards the face and sucking the belly button in. One by one, crawling the hands forward until you find that 7 out of 10 position, but keeping the toes flexed towards the face, as I keep banging on about, and having that little bit of a bend in the knee. Crawling the hands out until you find that position where you've got that straight spine, the gaze is going forward. Taking a few more breaths here, engaging the belly button towards the spine. Keeping the toes flexed in, a little bit of a bend in the knee. And then gently, slowly bringing the body back through to a seated position. Taking the legs out long. We're going to come into a boat pose, a Navasana. Another balancing posture, but also introducing some core strength. So taking the shins so that they're parallel towards the ceiling. Sucking the belly button towards the spine, maybe reaching forward to the fingertips. If this is a bit much, you can take the hands underneath the thighs. What we're trying to do here is keep that spine nice and straight. We'll hold here for 3 more breaths. Long, deep inhales. With the exhale, let it all go. Inhaling here a final time. Exhale, we're really slowly going to lower the body down to the mat, doing this vertebrae by vertebrae. Being careful that we don't allow the body to collapse down. And when the lower back's on the ground, slowly beginning to move down with the feet to the ground before taking the vertebrae one by one to the mat. Taking the knees in towards the chest, we're going to take a final happy baby here. And this might allow you to take the hands onto either side of the feet. Or it might be that the hands are into the thighs. This is a nice posture for starting to get a bit of movement into the legs and do whatever else feels good. Maybe it's taking the feet in one by one. Maybe it's taking them a bit wider. Maybe it's taking some rocks. Taking a few final long deep breaths in your happy baby before allowing the whole of the body to settle into the mat. Taking the feet to the left. Shoulder width apart, taking a hand onto the belly, a hand onto the chest. And before you get going with your day or the rest of your day, just taking a few moments to set yourself an intention for the day ahead. And it might not be something which you want to achieve. It could just be a state of mind which you want to stay in, or perhaps it's going a little bit slower than you would usually. Gently opening the eyes. Moving yourself gently back to a seated position. Maybe keeping the gaze low. And well done for completing your 4th day of your yoga challenge. I'll see you tomorrow for your final day.